A year ago, a coalition of Arab countries led by Saudi Arabia imposed a total blockade on Qatar, urging it to comply with a list of 13 demands. The aim was clear: to strip Qatar of its sovereignty. A year on, the tiny but oil-rich country has emerged as the winner of the conflict. The Quartet of Bahrain, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia has failed to isolate Qatar, which has cemented its energy and investment ties with the United States, Russia, China, and Turkey. A year after the historic blockade, the Quartet has been left with a dented reputation.
There seems to be now a frozen stalemate now between the Saudis and their allies, UAE, Bahrain, and Qatar, and there doesn't seem to be any evident path out of this crisis that will allow the Saudis to save face.
Sticking to its trial and error policy, Saudi Arabia is now going to threaten its Persian Gulf neighbor with military action after it failed to strong-arm Doha with blockade. Experts argue that the odds are against the military option or any more measures from Saudi Arabia, as the kingdom has fired all its bullets so far. The kingdom's ambitions in Syria have long hit rock bottom, and its military adventurism in Yemen has been a debacle. And in spite of spending millions of dollars, the Saudis have not reached their goals in the poorest country in the region. Threatening one of the richest countries in the world, which has both regional and international support at its side, seems to be all but a game of bluff.
One can't rule out that the Saudis would do something extremely risky with respect to Qatar. My guess is they probably will not. That the prospect that something goes terribly wrong if they try something militarily against Qatar is, I think, too high, and they will not risk. But again, nobody can be quite sure. Let's remember too that when the crisis erupted last year, that we had fairly strong shows of support for Qatar from Turkey, and I don't think that's something that the Saudis would take lightly. They already have problems with the Turks.
So far, the conflict has brought nothing but failure to Saudi Arabia and its allies. Perhaps the clearest indication is Trump's U-turn in dealing with the issue. While the U.S. president supported Saudi Arabia at the beginning of the conflict, he began to send mixed signals later on. In a series of remarks with the Qatari emir in April, Trump even attacked Saudi Arabia for terror funding. The deadlock in the Qatar crisis is no longer a critical item on the Trump administration's agenda, and Riyadh knows that it cannot count on the White House's support against Qatar.
I think we have to keep our eyes focused on what the bigger American perspective is in the region. And of course, that's hostility to Iran. And that, of course, is driven by Israel and Saudi Arabia. That said, I don't think the Americans are going to be particularly inclined to want to branch out in other extraneous adventures with respect to Qatar.
The Saudi adventurism in the region has not yielded good results for the kingdom, but has brought home to it the pointlessness of bullying. No matter how small or poor the rival is, the rusted tactic doesn't work anymore.